Voss, Ranking Members Blumenthal and Tucano, and members of the Committees on Veterans Affairs. Thank you for the opportunity to present the 2025 legislative priorities of DAV, Disabled American Veterans, an organization representing nearly 1 million members, all of whom returned from wartime service forever changed. My written testimony details DAV's key legislative goals for the 119th Congress and summarizes our many programs and accomplishments throughout the last year. So I'll use my limited time today to highlight some of our most pressing, critical policy goals. But first, let me introduce my DAV colleagues joining me today. National Adjutant Barry Jasnowski, Washington Headquarters Executive Director Randy Reese, National Service Director Jim Marsalek, National Legislative Director Joy Elam, National Voluntary Service Director John Kleindienst, National Caregiver Support Program Director Ron Minter, National Employment Director Lamar Kauser, and Auxiliary National Commander Christopher Easley. I'd also like to recognize the many DAV members and leaders sitting behind me today. Not every member could make the trip to Washington, but their contributions have been critical to DAV's success as the nation's premier veterans service organization. Others have supported DAV's vital mission over the past year. They include our senior and junior vice commanders, who step up to serve once again, and leaders of the DAV Auxiliary. I wish to express my gratitude to our National Executive Committee and members of the National Legislative Interim Committee, the Department of California, as well as my Chief of Staff, Enrique Ramos, for all of their support. And finally, I want to thank my beautiful wife, Teresa, who has remained a steadfast partner and supporter of myself and veterans everywhere. Mr. Chairman, I sit before you as a service-disabled veteran who served as a combat medic and nurse for 16 years. My path to joining the military was laid well before me. As I saw my brothers and sisters raise their hands, swearing to defend our nation and the Constitution, I decided it was my turn. I intended to enlist as a Navy corpsman, but I found the Army to be the best bet for me. The Army offered me an immense opportunity that continues to pay dividends today. As a medic, it opened up the world of caring. Once I saw the healing side of service, I knew I was hooked. While my time in uniform ended, my career helping veterans was taking flight. Early in my civilian transition, I reconnected with an Army buddy who introduced me to DAV and the services we provide. What drew me to this organization more than anything was a chance to secure justice for my fellow veterans and make sure that a sacred promise was kept. It was a new kind of caring, one that doesn't go away as we get older. Mr. Chairman, veterans need access to a full continuum of long-term care and caregiver support. That necessity has grown substantially and will continue to do so as veterans who served in America's longest war continue to age. The Department of Veterans Affairs projects that in 10 years, the number of veterans aged 85 and older will increase by 1/3, and women veterans in this age group can more than double. To meet aging veteran needs, the VA offered several caregiver support programs. However, gaps still exist. Veteran caregivers have proved to be life-saving. They provide some of the most essential support to veterans, putting in countless hours, often sacrificing their own well-being to care for another. And many do so by foregoing a traditional career and at a great cost to their personal health. But caregiving isn't without its own costs. Taxpayers benefit because of the services caregivers provide, which keep veterans from requiring government-funded assistance. But studies have shown that over 60% of caregivers experience burnout. We see that in the community we serve, and sadly, most don't know where to turn for help. When it comes to caregiving, for me, it's personal. I know it's an area that needs more focus because I live it as a veteran and a caregiver to my wife, who is battling stage 4 cancer. Having this experience that no one asked for provides insight. I've stood by her side through multiple surgeries, during chemotherapy, radiation, infusion, and a medical trial. Like every caregiver I know, I do it all in a heartbeat. And I know with every fiber of my being that if the shoe were on the other foot, she'd be there for me. This is such a crucial area, and we need to help veteran caregivers by providing comprehensive resources, including training and financial assistance, and requiring the VA to offer more assisted living care options. At DAV, we operate our own caregiver support initiative to help these unsung heroes. Since its inception in October of 2023, DAV Caregiver Support has connected over 1,400 caregivers to a host of public and private resources. While we are exceptionally proud of the success of our program, the responsibility to provide such support ultimately rests with the VA. And we urge Congress to increase resources for expanding home-based services and create assisted living options for service-disabled veterans. This will help us ensure that veterans can live in their own homes with respect and dignity. Mr. Chairman, another crucial and critical issue for DAV is ensuring that no toxic exposed veteran is left behind. American service members have been harmed by toxic exposures since DAV's founders returned from the trenches of World War I. With the help and leadership of these committees, the PACT Act created more than 20 presumptive conditions for burn pits and other toxic exposures. And we thank you for that recognition. In addition to expanding health care access and benefits to millions of veterans, they are no longer burdened to prove their exposures caused these cancers and illnesses. And while the PACT Act has been transformational, the law does not cover every toxic exposed veteran. Those who served at Fort McClellan and other areas still face an uphill battle to prove their illnesses as a result of exposure. But doing so can be impossible, especially years or decades later. And it also did not include adequate accountability and transparency. That's why DAV and the Military Officers Association of America researched the history of presumptive conditions for toxic exposures and produced a groundbreaking report. And we found that veterans had been forced to wait on average more than 34 years after exposure before VA established presumptives for benefits and health care. Saying that that is too long is an understatement of massive proportions. Veterans have died waiting for justice that eludes their survivors. But if we continue teaming up, as we did to get the PACT Act to the President's desk, we can make such injustices a thing of the past. We shared our findings and recommendations last September in our report, Ending the Wait for Toxic Exposed Veterans. And based on our findings, we call on Congress to pass legislation that would expand research on toxic exposures, launch an independent scientific review process, and establish a Veterans Advisory Commission. Together, we can help end the wait for toxic exposed veterans. Mr. Chairman, a fully funded VA is absolutely vital to ensuring ill and injured veterans receive the care and benefits they have earned. Underfunding or delayed funding can have dire consequences for veterans who rely on VA disability compensation or health care. It's not an exaggeration to say, in many cases, this is life or death. But efforts have been hampered from a law Congress passed in 2010, limiting its ability to increase federal spending. The underlying principle that is any new laws must not increase any deficits. In practice, Congress must now offset new benefits by cutting existing ones. This arbitrary and black and white rule, known as pay-as-you-go or pay-go, is dangerous, and it doesn't consider the needs of veterans when determining where and how tax dollars are spent. But unlike every other government program, veterans' benefits and health care have already been paid for through the sacrifices of those who serve, period. And there are other drastic proposals that seek to balance the federal budget on the backs of those who guaranteed a free and prosperous nation. This is wrong, even under the pretext of fiscal responsibility. Proposals include taxing VA disability compensations or phasing out certain unemployability benefits when veterans reach a retirement age. There's also suggestions to reduce VA disability compensation levels across the board for future and current veterans. There's even talk of ending lower disability payments altogether, as if to say your service and sacrifice doesn't matter if it doesn't rise to more serious levels. This idea is perilous, cruel, and deeply flawed. We hope that you will summarily dismiss this. We appreciate that. Mr. Chairman, we must ensure that the new administration's promise of a golden age for America strengthens how we care for our veterans. But we're seeing organized efforts to curtail what veterans have earned and deserve. A VA that is laser focused on providing the best possible care and timely benefits to veterans, their families, caregivers, and survivors. To follow through on this promise, veterans need Congress in their corners as they have been in ours. In this gilded era, we must ensure that veterans' benefits are reinforced, not clawed back. The Department of Veterans Affairs needs to be fully funded and have predictable budgets. Veterans' health care should be enhanced and streamlined, all while ensuring VA provides the right options to meet their evolving needs. Together, we have the chance to follow through on the social contract disabled veterans have earned. And we hope you will join us in this fight. America is counting on it. May God continue to bless DAV, the men and women who serve our great nation, and the United States of America. Thank you.